Include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the middle of the African bush for your very own privately guided safari through the heart of the South African lowveld. This is Safari Live. Ready? Standing by.
4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Welcome, my name is Brent Smith. I have VM on camera with me today, and of course there was a very exciting start to our Saturday, or as some of our viewers like to call it, Catterday. We had the Nkuhumas with a Birmingham and cub, and then we had two other Nkuhumas who had managed to catch a young buffalo. Now, whether they've managed to join up during the day is something we're about to find out. Remember, this is live and interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or pop me an email at questions@WildEarthTV. Of course, I'm not the only one wandering around in the African bush this wonderful Saturday afternoon. Jamie is out with Jandre, and hopefully between the two of us, we're going to be able to find you the most magnificent African wildlife out there. Now, there were lots of elephants around during the day. I could hear them trumpeting, roaring and screaming, so hopefully they'll make an appearance as well. Now, we had that massive herd of buffalo around this area on the sunrise safari, and I'm hoping they haven't wandered too far, because half the Nkuhuma pride are still quite hungry. So as we make our way to check in on the two Nkuhuma lionesses who managed to procure themselves a sub-adult buffalo, let's go say a good afternoon to Jamie.
Good afternoon and welcome on our portion of this sunset safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon I have the incredible Jandre on camera with me. Right, you have arrived at the best possible spot to enjoy a safari experience, short of actually being here in the middle of the African bush. This is the next best thing. Now, this morning, Brent had extraordinary lion sightings. He had lions feeding, he had lion cubs suckling. Jandre and myself had a red-crested korhaan, admittedly a very nice red-crested korhaan. It's a type of bird for our new viewers, and some really nice moths. Wonderful morning. I really enjoyed myself. We also had some wildebeest. Let's not be unfair and forget about the wildebeest. We had some wildebeest. Wonderful morning, but not quite what I was setting out to achieve. So I've decided this afternoon, first of all, we're going to Arathusa to look for the spotted cats, because the leopards have been somewhat scarce over the last few days, and I'm determined to go and find one. However, failing that, because I don't want to hedge myself into a corner, decided today's afternoon should be an unusual things afternoon. Perhaps we'll find a snake, perhaps a tortoise. I don't think I've seen one tortoise since we had our first rainfall. Chameleon tonight. All kinds of little mysteries that the bush has to offer. I think that sounds like a fair enough plan. Let's go to Arathusa and see what's happening there. Now, apparently I've come through to the spot where the only leopard tracks of the morning were seen. Unfortunately, apparently they cross over our boundary and then into Simbambili. Now, the suspicion is that it is in Cheetah, the young female leopard that I think we've only seen 2 or 3 times on our live safaris, but has been spending a lot of time in this area. And she's still vying to find a spot that she can call her own as a young female leopard striking out. She's still searching to see what she can find. And unfortunately, this spot is sort of taken. This is part of Shadow's territory and part of Karula's territory. The 2 female leopards of this area, mother and daughter. Stopping to see if the Impala have any updates for us. Kind of like having the updates from the dam camera, but different in the form of alarm calls. Whenever we sit in between drives and just listen to the sounds of the bush. Nope, this ram isn't going to tell us anything, nor in fact is he going to be very visible. I think let's move on and get to the open area of Impala Plains. Perhaps we'll have some nice herds of animals there. Now, the one thing that strikes me as we're driving along through Djuma, I spent the morning on Cheetah Plains, so I haven't driven Djuma today. There are just buffalo tracks absolutely everywhere. These poor animals have been chased pillar to post by the Nkuhumas. They definitely stumbled into the wrong neighborhood. Now, all of the buffalo herds that we've been seeing, and bearing in mind that we've hardly seen for about 2 months, we hardly saw any breeding herds of buffalo. Now, all of a sudden, you can't throw a rock around this place without accidentally hitting one. So they seem to be everywhere. It's amazing that they've all just, presumably, I don't know if they came from south, if they came from the north, from Manyeleti. I don't know what it is. They're clearly prompted by the rain and the return of the grazing, the return of the grass. Get this little steenbokkie. Oh, little steenbokkie.
I was being checked, following up on the 2 or such young roller with the Nyari Bamba on WildEarthTV Chapter.
It's trying to show you a truly enjoyable little antelope. But much like our Impala, they're playing hard to get this afternoon. It's okay, we shall not take it personally and continue onwards. Now, speaking of our poor hapless buffalo herds, we know that the Nkuhumas have killed at least two buffalo in the last 24 hours. And I think that Brent is currently having a look at one of them.
So we've made our way to Gowrie Cutline. Can't see a lion, but I heard a lion sneeze. So I think they're just below in the riverbed. I'm just trying to listen. I heard a lioness sneeze, and you can see there's quite a steep bank there. So I'm going to have to find a way to get down there, which means I've got to go on quite a long road trip to get down to have a look at the lions. I think they might have caught 2 baby buffalo. This one looks more intact than the one we saw this morning. Okay. Now, fortunately, I know some spots to get into this little river system. So I'm sure the lions are lying down in the shade there. Taxon's on his way to check the other lions, so it doesn't look like they've joined up. Okay, so as we head down here, there's a little track. I'm just trying to remember where it is. I've followed many a leopard through this area before. The elephants might have rearranged some of my secret spots, but there, where there's a will, there's a way. There we go, that's the way. So we're going to drop down into the riverbed and follow the riverbed upstream. Hopefully those lions are going to be sleeping in it. So isn't this absolutely gorgeous down here? It's one of my favorite little sections of Djuma. Basically, we're going underneath this sort of cathedral of Timbuiti trees. Lovely big Timbuiti trees down here. Oh, there's a family of Inyala here as well. Now the lions are still quite a far away, so I said we've got a bit of missioning to do to get through here, to get below where that buffalo carcass was. Okay, there. Sorry? Yes, I know we missed that shortcut. Remember it for the way out. Okay, let's just... We're going to have to do some bit more concentrating while we off-road through this riverbed. So while we do that, let's go back to Jamie.
While Brent concentrates on locating the incredible Nkuhumas, we're just about to get to Red Dam to see what's happening there, since it is nice and warm this afternoon. It's 28 degrees centigrade, which is 82 in Fahrenheit, so nice warm day after the chilly start to this morning where it was threatening to rain. A little bit disappointed that it didn't, actually. I was quite looking forward to listening to the sound of the rain on the roof and seeing all of the different animals that pop out after it has rained. But it didn't. The clouds held back and now they have all but blown away. Oh, and by the way, the loud noise earlier was a stick hitting the base of the vehicle. Nothing too disastrous. It was just the way that my wheel hit it, that it flicked up and it hit the bottom of the vehicle, which is relatively common. It's fine when it hits the bottom of your car. It's much less pleasant when you get it wrong and it flicks up and hits you or the cameraman, which is something we've done many, many times. Jean-Ray's nodding with a slightly disgruntled expression on his face. I haven't done it to you that many times, Jean-Ray. Not that many. I'm usually the one who takes the brunt of it. I once smashed an entire wing mirror off a vehicle that way once, driving over a log that was slightly at an angle, and it flicked up and it bashed the side mirror off. Now, if you're ever wondering why we don't have side mirrors, one of the big reasons why. Very, very easy to lose them to the bush, for various reasons. And we don't need them. We are able to turn around and look behind us quite easily. Sometimes, though, I think they'd be quite useful if you have an elephant and you're trying to reverse away from it. Might be quite nice to have side mirrors. Okay, ooh, let's see what Red Dam has in store for us. Seeing some off-road tracks. There was obviously a sighting here not too long ago, but they're not fresh enough to be from this morning. Off-road, by off-road tracks I mean a place where a couple of vehicles have driven off the road to a sighting. In this drought, that means anything either cat-related or high-profile related. Cats, hyenas, wild dogs. The rest of the animals we're not driving off-road for. Just to reduce the impact that we have on the environment during the drought. Hello! You're not the usual Red Dam resident, but I am very happy to see you. Look at this massive male warthog. Gone right into the water, something that he definitely would not do if the Red Dam hippo was here this afternoon, without risking being chased right out again. But this old gentleman is the perfect example of why warthogs are called warthogs, with those massive protrusions sticking out under his eyes and then up just above his tusks. Now, this is a warthog boar in his prime. only in the big males that those warts, in inverted commas, are as prominent as they are. They're not warts. For our newer viewers that are unfamiliar with this particular chap, they are not warts at all. They are very important protective sort of growths of cartilage and connective tissue that protect particularly in the male warthogs, protect their eyes when they fight each other. You can see, particularly, have a look at his tusks, and have a look at his left tusks, and then have a look at the bottom left tusk from our perspective, not from his perspective. So on the left hand side of your screen, you'll see just how razor sharp that particular one is. Top ones are more for show, it's the bottom ones that are all business. And he's currently seriously slacking his thirst. Very, very water dependent creatures, which means that of all of the animals, warthogs have been some of the ones that have suffered the most during this drought, mainly from malnutrition. Ah, look, is he going to go right in? I hope so. Ah, come on, buddy. No, don't go away. I was hoping he was going to lie right down on the edge. Warthog love water, and they love wallowing in mud. It's the perfect way for them to cool down. He's clearly still intent on drinking. Very, very common to come upon a muddy puddle occupied by several warthog at one time. There we go. Awesome. It's okay, boy. You can trust us. Oh, cool. Lorena, I'm very happy to hear that, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. Lorena says that these are her favourite animals. I'm really chuffed to hear that, because the warthog are often dismissed as one of the ugliest creatures out here, which I think is terribly unfair. Personally, I don't think they're ugly. Okay, they're not as beautiful as a leopard, but they're not ugly at all, and they are actually entirely fascinating. I'm glad to hear from you, Lorena. Tara, who was our director last year and the beginning of this year, she also really truly loved warthogs. She'd always get very excited when we managed to put one on camera. There you go, a special treat for you, Lorena. Don't go, boy. He's gonna go, I think he's going to go plonk himself down on the other side. I'm hoping he's going to, at least. Let's try reposition. I think he seems to be quite relaxed. Here we go.
Yeah, I think they're still in the area, but I went down in purpose.
There we go, back into the water once again. James Dungan, very good question. You were wondering if there are scent glands around those protrusions. I know that they do have pre-orbital scent glands. I'm not sure they serve a massive function in the same way they do in things like territorial male wildebeest, but they do have scent glands around their faces. It's not necessarily connected to the protrusions, though, as far as I know. So the scent glands are pre-orbital, so around the eyes, which I suppose is quite close to the top set of protrusions, or warts. I must double check whether or not they have any cheek glands. Not 100% sure. Probably the best people to ask, because we don't necessarily see them scent marking all that frequently, because warthog not massively territorial. They do compete with each other over mates when it's time to mate during warthog rutting seasons, but they don't really fight over territory per se. So scent glands in this case are awesome. He is going to dig himself into the mud. So scent glands in this case would form primary sort of communicative function with other members of the same species. Oh, that wasn't me, Jandre. That's the whole vehicle moving. That's not me. I've got my foot off the brake and the handbrake. Now up. Ah. Nature's sunblock. Big thick layer of mud. Combination of removing ectoparasites, things like ticks, cooling down and protecting their sensitive skin. It's like the reverse of bath time. It looked like a lot of fun, actually. He definitely looks better off for his coating of mud. Now, Roy Phelps, thank you for sending through your question. Roy, you wanted to know if they are aggressive. Not unduly aggressive, no. They're not aggressive with each other unless it's breeding season, and they're not aggressive with humans. But that being said, they are very, very dangerous, and they can be very, very dangerous. So I spoke about the razor-sharp tusks. I know 2 people who have had major surgery and major physiotherapy as a result of an encounter with a warthog, and I know several who have had near misses, myself included. So what happens with warthogs is they habituate very quickly to the presence of human beings, and of course the place to be is a camp, because a camp's lawns often get watered, they're often tended by gardeners and possibly even fertilizers, which means the plant life is great. Warthogs get used to that and they spend a lot of time there. Then if a person by mistake accidentally corners a wild but relatively habituated warthog, they move incredibly fast, they're heavy. That male warthog probably weighs more than I do, just in terms of pure bulk. And they are very, very quick and very strong. And they will slice open. I know 2 people, both of whom, interestingly enough, there's clearly, from defending themselves against predators, there's a very clear way that the warthogs know which weaknesses to target. In other words, the back of the leg, back of the knee. I'm sorry, I want to see if I can get what female Sunbird this is. That's just dropped down to go and have a drink. Can you see it there, Jean? It's on the edge of the water. It's hopping up and down, and it's minuscule. There we go, well done. Big strong beak, which says, in my instinct says Marico female. But I don't have my bird book with me, which is silly. I left it this morning because of the rain, and then I forgot to put it back in this afternoon. I mean, that sunbird's nearly the size of the spider hunting wasp that's just landed for a drink. Aren't they adorable? There was one of them today, Marico Sunbird today. Brent came and fetched me. I was on the phone with my mum, and Brent came and fetched me, that had decided it took great offence to my car's wing mirrors, my personal vehicle, and was sitting on the edge of my vehicle, tapping furiously away at the mirrors on my car. Furious little male that decided that I was really that his reflection was clearly up to no good and out to steal all of his ladies. The female sunbirds definitely get the raw end of the deal in terms of colouring. They're not nearly as pretty, they're not nearly as brightly coloured, but at the same time, they're a lot less distinctive and a lot less obvious to predators, which means that they're better at hiding. Whereas the males, as a sort of sexual reproductive technique, they are very brightly coloured. The best looking male will often be the one that gets the ladies. Now, somewhere here will be the male, and that would be the best way, the easiest way of me trying to identify without having my bird book, because all of the little sunbirds are relatively similar. I said Marico instinctively just because it was quite a big female with quite a large beak. I'm hoping, just by the way, the longer I sit here at Red Dam, the more Tingana's just going to pop out somewhere there. Chandre's nodding because he was here with me the last time this happened. Where is the male? Can't see it. They've disappeared completely. We'll have to go and look for some boer beans. Now, we were speaking about the warthog and whether or not it is aggressive or dangerous, and I hadn't quite finished the story, but to wrap it up, they're not aggressive, but they are dangerous. Cricket, you wanted to know whether or not a warthog's hair is rough, and Cricket is 7 years old. Lovely question. Yes, very, very, very rough. So I know a few people who have hand-raised warthogs and have warthogs that have grown up living in their beds. It's like a little pet dog, which is all fine and well when they're little, but it's a whole different ball game when they're big. And Cricket, their skin is very rough and very, very tough, and so is their fur. So the reason that they have the fur, the hair like that, especially down the top of their heads, is to make them look scary. So it's just like a wild boar. They bristle up when they're angry or when they're frightened. They make that hair stand up on end, kind of like when you get goosebumps or when you get chicken flesh when you're cold. They make the hair stand up on end, and it makes them look really big and really scary. So yes, rough like a wild boar. Right, I've run out of reasons to delay at Red Dam in the hope Tingana will pop out. We're going to go and actively search for him. In the meantime, let's head across because Brent's active search has worked out well.
We managed to make our way into the riverbed, but unfortunately we've got as far as we can go, and this is about as close as we can get. And the only sighting we're going to get of a very relaxed looking Nkuhuma lioness. Now, Vim and I had a discussion whether we could maybe possibly get through there, but I think we probably could, but it might be taking a bit of a chance. As you can see, there's quite a chasm, and if we get one wheel off, then we'll be stuck here with no one to come rescue us. So we decided to stay on this side, and I don't think they're going to move too much, so we're not going to spend too much time here. I think it's about, oh, there we go. Oh no. It might be a vulture trying to sneak down onto the carcass. We can't see it. But, oh dear. Or maybe she'll pull the carcass down to the bottom of the riverbed. Oh, he's just making sure no hyena or anything's trying to grab it. Of course, down in the bottom of the riverbed is much cooler for her than up on the top there. Maybe she heard something. Maybe another herd of buffalo are coming in. Who knows? Not us, because we're at the bottom of the riverbed. We can't see up. So she's quite high above us now. This bank in front of us, I'd guess, is 15 foot, maybe even a bit higher, 20 foot even. So this is an Nkuhuma lioness, and John in the Netherlands is wondering, why don't we see the Styx pride that much? Well, John, that's mostly because the majority of their territory falls outside of our traverse area. So they occasionally come right into the south of Djuma, or we see them most on Cheetah plains. But she's bearing stomach content. I'm hoping she tries to pull that buffalo down here. That looks like what she's doing. She might drag it all the way to the bottom. That would be good luck for us, because we'll be in the prize spot then. So, John, it's just basically because we do not have access to the areas where they frequent the most. Okay, you can just see the leg. I wonder if she's going to drag it all the way down. The reason she would drag it down or drag it closer to where they've been sleeping is to protect it from vultures, hyenas. Come on, pull it, pull it. There we go. Pulling it towards us, fortunately. Now, there are two lionesses here, and Kitty Bang Bang was wondering that. There's the lioness on top who's pulling on the carcass, and there's another one sleeping behind that bush to our right. Now, the other three lionesses and one Birmingham boy are about 1.5 kilometers from here, and sleeping in a river system, not unlike this one, except a bit smaller. Oh, that buffalo got its own back. Even in death, the buffalo hoof caught her on the chin there. Let's see, I think she might. Come on, pull it down. Pull it towards us. No, looks like she's going to sit and eat up there. You can see the massive blowflies already there. You can hear the bones starting to crack. Crunch, crunch. Driving over is wondering, is it more dangerous to be below lions than from a different perspective? No, not at all. It's just the only place we can see them from in the area they are at the moment. It doesn't really bother them if we're above them, behind them, in front of them, or below them. Quite pleasant under those timbuerties down here in the riverbed. Now the big question is, will the rest of the pride hunt this evening? Now, neither of these lionesses are mothers to the cubs, so they wouldn't feel the need to go fetch the cubs. Bill's wondering, do lions ever really truly sleep? Well, definitely, but their instincts are so honed that they can snap out of that deep sleep to wide awake in a split second. And that's defense in case, imagine, another lion was on its way. Look at that, she's munching away, and this little buffalo won't last too long with 2 lionesses. So we're going to sit here, and I think we're going to probably leave these lions to be and try to see if we can find something else. Maybe we'll come back later when they might be out in the open a bit more. And while we do that, let's go see Jamie.
Oh, while Brent potters about Djuma, I'm on my absolute, or in my absolute favourite spot on, here's another log. The logs are out to get me today. On my absolute favourite spot on Arathusa, in a drainage line called the Marikeni Donga, which is essentially a river system that is dry for 99% of the year, which means we can drive along through it. It also means that there's extraordinary scenery, and it's very bright. Hold on, what is that, Chandra? What is that on your left-hand side at the bottom? Tracks, yes. Going the opposite way. Let's have a look. Let me try a reposition. I can see them there as well. That looked to me like a leopard. Beautiful leopard tracks in the afternoon sunlight. Now I would say, with almost without a shadow of a doubt, that this would be Tingana. Let me jump out, because that's not always clear to first-time viewers exactly what it is we're looking at, particularly when it's in soil like this, which is quite tough to see in. Now the difficulty with this coarse sandy soil is that it's difficult to gauge exactly how fresh the tracks are. I think Chandra is right in that I don't think they are as fresh as I thought they were initially. So this is his front foot here. The front foot of animals are always slightly larger than the back foot, with very few limited exceptions, one of which is the cheetah, that needs a big back foot for traction, essentially. So these are the toes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the back pad. Now how do we know that this is a leopard and not a lion? They're relatively large track. I mean, try not to put my shadow over it, but there's my hand for scale. But a lion with a track of this size, our lion cubs are nearly at that point where their tracks are this size. So you would never see just one set of tracks. If this were a lion track, there'd be a whole lot around it, because it would be a young lion, tiny lion, even for a big male leopard track. This is his back foot here, slightly narrower and more elongated. The 3 lobes are not that clear in this kind of soil, and the toes are here. And I can almost guarantee it's Tingana, just because of the size of the track and the fact that he spends a great deal of time. This is where we saw him after our sighting at Red Dam that we were talking about earlier, walking this way along the drainage line. This leopard's going the other way, walking this way and marking his territory. It's clearly a regular pathway that he walks. Now, in terms of gauging freshness, the best way with substrates like this is to stand next to the track. See, not very distinct at all. Gives you an idea of what the tracks would look like if they were nice and fresh, since you know that I've just stepped there. I'm just backtracking a little bit to try and get some in some softer soil, but I think Chandra is right. These have been driven over already. These are probably not from today. They're probably from yesterday, maybe. Just guessing. Very difficult to tell in that kind of soil, and also difficult to tell. I'm trying to work out if I did this with a stick. Can't have. There's a sudden sort of bulge in the bottom of Jigger that I'm just going to ignore, that I swear was not there earlier. I must have. That's why that stick made such a noise. Whoops. We won't tell anyone about that. It'll be our little secret. Right, Chandra? So apart from Chandra, myself, Rebecca, and Kirsty in Final Control, and presumably Alex, nobody else knows about that, apart from all of you watching. I'm going to try and see if I can chat to, I can't do it at the moment because I'm right in this drainage system, so there's no way I'll be able to hear. I'm going to try and chat to some of the Arathusa guides and just find out when these tracks are from. It looks as though somebody's already picked up on them. It would be so nice to see Tingana. It has been far too long. He was on Simbambili, which is just a little bit to the north of me, 2 days ago. And yesterday apparently he was further south of that. Not very fresh. I have to, before we go racing off on a wild goose chase, and see if we can get hold of some of the other guides and find out what's been happening. Been a long time since I've been on Arathusa. One day, there's going to be something fascinating in here. This massive old Jackalberry tree. It is so beautiful. I know it's right into the sun, so it's difficult to see. But I'd love to know how far that hollow extends up into the tree itself. Scott found bats in here. That doesn't surprise me. That's one of the reasons why I didn't go and stick my head in straight away. Having done that a few times and learned my lesson with very angry bats flying out and hitting me in the head, somehow I don't feel like repeating that process necessarily. It is a beautiful tree though. Talking about that hollow over there that's been made by fire. Very pretty. One day we'll come through and there'll be a leopard curled up there or an owl sitting perched. It's the kind of tree that you wish you could sort of become squirrel-sized for a day and go and explore and find out who's living there, because I bet it's home to snakes and lizards and spiders. I think it would be most educational. Lovely to hear from you, as always. I'm talking about different species, different types of birds, reptiles, bats, and all kinds of things. You'll have to forgive me because my radio communications are not 100% clear, but I think you were asking if we get different species of dragonflies out here on Djuma, at Arathusa presumably. And dragonflies, yes, absolutely we do. We get big red ones and big blue ones and little black ones and all kinds of very pretty dragonflies. I know for a fact it's one of our cameraman's favorite things to film. Yeah, Chandra is nodding, because they're so unpredictable. These little darting creatures. And I'll tell you what, I would know one spot towards the Arathusa airstrip that is a really nice spot for dragonflies. Let's go and see if we can find some for you and just have a look at the different types. So fast-moving, predatory insects. We also, of course, get a whole range of different species of damselflies, which are subtly different. Hold their wings closed rather than open, slightly thinner bodies. Quite a similar approach to life, quite a very similar shape. So yes, lots of different species of dragonflies. In fact, so many species of dragonflies, there is a massive textbook on the subject of the different dragonflies of South Africa, which I don't have yet as part of my collection, but I will one day. Got to build these collections up slowly, or else you can end up spending a great deal of money in one go. And then I think a trip to the Arathusa Dam might be nice as well. Go and see if any of our fish eagle friends are there, perhaps some elephants. I'm having a great time trundling through Arathusa. It's been a while. We're about to go through a large dip. I think we're going to lose you, well, lose your signal anyway, or our signal. Let's head across to Brent while we do.
So we left those lions. They weren't in the best spot to see what was going on, and I've just heard there's a nice big herd of elephants close by. Around Chelepan, so I'm slowly making my way towards there. Hopefully, I've been really wanting to see elephants playing in the mud for quite some time, and hopefully today is my lucky day. It is an absolutely gorgeous afternoon after that windy, cool morning. Oh my goodness. What happened to you, Impala? That Impala's had a lucky escape from some predator. Cheapers. And probably, I don't know, looking at it, looks like a lion. And a couple of days ago, it's not fresh. Now, that makes her a prime candidate for leopard, hyena, and of course the lions. It looks like a claw got in there and really ripped open the skin, but somehow she managed to escape. Sure, look at that. Wow. Now, not something you see every day, that. Now, I know a lot of you will be asking shortly, why don't we help that Impala? And the reason is this is the wilds. I mean, it's not our place to start interfering with the animals. And if we had to help the Impala, and we'd probably have to keep it and feed it and hand rear it, and it becomes quite a big palaver as well, and difficult to re-release, and we're taking away the leopards and the lions and the hyenas' food. So, I mean, that's a prime example of an animal, specifically a hyena or leopard would target now. Even lions, because it is injured, it's going to be that much slower off the mark. And she wasn't looking too unhealthy, but I'd say that happened a couple of days ago. That doesn't look fresh from today. Some healthy Impala running off. It is an absolutely beautiful day, and hopefully we catch up with those elephants. Saxon said there was a very small baby in that herd, so tiny baby Ellie's always very cute. And also, as it gets a little bit cooler, I'm hoping we might find some birds, specifically the sunbirds. Now, I know Jamie told you about the sunbird that was attacking the rearview mirror. It was very, very beautiful. Very, very upset to see competition in the garden. He thought he was the only Mariko sunbird male who dominated Inga's garden. Now, we're just chatting about sunbirds, and my cat would like to know whether sunbirds are the only birds that have curved beaks. Well, the only birds that have curved beaks specifically designed to feed off nectar. But, I mean, to a degree, there we go. A hornbill has a curved beak. What's he got in his mouth there, Liam? That mud. Now, that's interesting. Now, that's a male hornbill, and he's got a bunch of mud there. So he must be building a nest for the females somewhere close by. Now, hornbills have quite an interesting nesting program. So the male will collect mud, and he'll actually encase the female Let's see where he goes. I think we might even find his nest now. So he will encase the female, and she'll actually lose all her feathers while she's in the nest, and she will be fed. She's completely reliant on the male when she's in the nest. Now, a dead tree like this, there we go, there's the hole. There we go, we now know where the nest is. Now, if he's putting mud there, that means the female's already inside. Now, she'll lay her eggs in there, and she'll lose all her feathers, and they'll form the basis of the nest. And while she's in there, that male will look after her, bring her food, and she'll only emerge once the babies have fledged. Isn't that incredible? Well, at least we know where one nest is. That means we can keep checking on it. Now, the reason they block up the nest like that, I can't see her just yet, is to make it near impossible for predators like monitor lizards to be able to get inside. I'm sure he's flown off to the next pan to go collect some more mud. Now, this particular tree is actually home to a monitor lizard last year, and we'll see if he moves back in. He was in a lower hole than that one. But there we go. First hornbill nest of the season found. Yay! Now, back to me and my cat. And so lots of different birds out here have curved bills. The sunbirds, of course, are specifically for nectar. The wood hoopoes, scimitar bulls all have curved bills, but those are to pry grubs and insects out from under bark or in holes. Now, sunbirds are probably the only really exclusive nectar eaters, although certain species will eat spiders and insects as well. But a lot of them are far more exclusive in their feeding pattern, or the sunbirds, than other birds, for example. You can see starlings eating nectar, you can see lots of different birds, orioles, but the sun, there we go, talking about a bird with a curved beak, silhouetted at the moment, there we go, a red-billed wood hoopoo, or I think the new name is the green wood hoopoo. You can see the curved beak, but for a completely different reason. See how he's looking under the bark? He uses it to move the bark to find any little grubs. Oh, so far it's been quite a nice birding afternoon. And we found some curved beaks, but not the sunbirds just yet. Okay, that was very nice. Now, Jamie's in the Murray Canyon. That's a good spot for sunbirds. There's a couple of big weeping bourbeens there that are flowering already. Well, we might as well see how many birds we can get this sunset safari. I've heard a couple of cuckoos during the day. I still haven't managed to get a cuckoo on camera just yet, so that'll be a good one. I heard a red-chested cuckoo calling, and the class is cuckoo. Mikey. No Deirdre's yet, and no great spotted Levalance or Jackalberry yet either. Well, it seems like Jamie's keeping up with the birding segment of the sunset safari. Let's go have a look.
Don't fly, don't fly, don't fly, please don't fly. I think this is one of the closest I have, the closest I have ever managed to get to a fork-tailed drongo on these live drives. This is amazing. It's sitting so still. Oh, it was about to go there. Giving us a view of that incredible bright beady eye, intelligent expression, and ringed in a sort of a reddish colour. This is a truly incredible view of a bird that we see all the time, but never in quite this depth and detail. This Drongo actually caused me to slam on the brakes as I was driving along. It swooped right down into the middle of the road in front of my car. I don't know if it was after something here, and that's why it's still sitting so patiently, so close to us. Look at this! This is a phenomenal view of a bird that never sits still. I want to try something. Okay, it was a long shot. It was a very long shot. They love to imitate the call of a pearl-spotted owl, which was what I was whistling to it. And I have had a long conversation with the Drongo before. Never at quite this proximity. He flew onto Chandre's head. This is the tamest fork-tailed Drongo in the world. Oh, it's really close. Hold on, I'm going to try and go back. Let's see if it'll be as obliging as it was before. It's obviously after something here. I don't want to obstruct it in any way. This is a truly phenomenal fork-tailed Drongo. It's so incredibly patient. Gets the name, fork-tailed Drongo. Oh, it decided that was such an obvious thing that I was about to say that it wasn't having any of it. Nope, sorry Jamie, if you're going to be inane, I'm going to leave. Fair enough. That was an awesome fork-tailed Drongo sighting though. That's one of the best I've ever. Alrighty. I'm going to trundle on along the boundary of our...
So, sorry about that. We are live in the bush, so occasionally we do have a bit of signal breakup, but we've made our way towards where those elephants were, and there's some Impala running off, but I do see an elephant, and I was hoping they're going to be playing in the mud. Hopefully we're not too late. There's an elephant ahead of the Impala. Oh, run mister, you're going to get left behind. Oh, hi, yes, hello mister. Hello little boy. Shake your head at us. You do it again. You might get in trouble this time. No, I was content to munch on his buffalo thorn rather than shake his head at us. I just want to go a little bit further forward to the pan in case there are still any playing in the water. And there's a big herd spread out through here, so we will come back if we get no luck at the water's edge. Oh, are we going to be just too late? No, where are you going? Come back and play in the mud. Another young bull, but he doesn't look like he wants to play in the mud. So we're really hoping to find some Ellies splishing and a splashing. And he looks more content to start feeding. There's a noisy bird at the top of this tree. You could hear that. There we go, calling again. A crested barbet. Making lots of noise. Just see his head move there. He's trying to impress a female who's feeding underneath him. Now they are specifically in that tree after it's a little jackalberry and it's fruiting at the moment, and the barbets are great lovers of fruit. Using that powerful beak to break open the ripe jackalberry fruit. Okay, well, let's head back towards those other elephants and see if we can find the tiny baby. Sylvia! Hello, Sylvia. Sylvia would like to know, do we have hummingbirds here in Africa? We don't. They are American species, North or South American species. The closest thing we have to hummingbirds is sunbirds, but they're not quite as small as the hummingbirds. So Taxon said there's a really tiny baby elephant with this herd. So it looks like they're heading down towards the Mwati riverbed. So we're going to do the same. There's the cheeky young bull. He's deciding he's running after the rest of the family. Oh, sorry, cheeky young cow, not a bull. So the rest of the herd seem to be right on the edge of the river. So I'm going to make my way there. It has been such a pleasant afternoon so far. Lovely birds, lovely lions, lovely Ellies. Jamie had a wallowing warthog. We haven't quite found the wallowing elephants I'm looking for just yet. So currently the herd's feeding through this riverine thicket. They're going to have to drop down into the riverbed. I'm hoping we will be there. Let's just have a quick look upstream. Not yet. Quick look downstream. Not yet. It looks like from the tracks some of them have crossed. I can see one through there. There's another mud wallow here. Am I going to get my wallowing Ellie treat? Oh, we don't want to give her a fright, so we'll stop behind her. It's a big adult female. Now, I did have a quick glimpse of her a little earlier. Now I've seen her before, but a really long time ago. I must say it must have been maybe in January, the last time I saw this elephant. And the reason I know it was this elephant is when we get to see the other side of her face, she's got a very distinct tusk. Now it curves upwards facing forwards. So very, very unique. Are we going to get our wallowing elephant? He's right next to the water. A little male there. And hopefully he might decide it's time to splish and splash. But at the moment we can't actually move any further forward because of this cow. You can see there's the road, and we don't want to give her a fright by driving right behind her. One of the biggest cows I've seen here. Hello, old girl. I guess she probably weighs in the region of 8,000 pounds, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I just want to see the other side of her face, and you'll see that very distinct tusk, and that's the reason I can recognize her. There it is. You can just see it sticking through there. So it faces upwards. There we go, and it's very, very short. And it's been an incredibly long time since I've seen her. Hello, Gracie, 9 years old. Gracie says, "Yay, elephants! They make me giggle each time. Why are the young boys elephants so silly with the people?" Well, Gracie, the same reason young boys are silly with everyone, because they're trying to show off. There we go. It's a lovely wrinkled backside. And you see she's got very defined wrinkles along her spine there. Deep creases. They do have such an amazing calming effect. We're going to sit here. I'm going to wait for her to move so I can get round to the waterhole. While we do that, let's go back to Jamie, who's got another bird to show you.
We have arrived at Arathusa Dam to find an animal that I was definitely not expecting to see at Arathusa Dam. A lilac-breasted roller that is hopping around the cracks in the mud, clearly after something. And I am very curious to find out what this lilac-breasted roller is after. It's been intently focused ever since we arrived, but I haven't had a chance to see what it's searching for. But it is, at this angle, giving us the most incredible view of these vibrant, vibrant colours. Look at that. The green on the top, the white eyebrow. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 colours. Although I think that the more you examine the feathers, the more you would learn about it. Look at that. Oh, wow. And up onto its log once again. And that's what it's been doing this entire time. As you can see, very sadly, the Arathusa Dam is now completely dry. Which is why we found a lilac-breasted roller, of all things, at the Arathusa Dam. There's not even any mud at this point. There's dried mud and big cracks of mud, but there's nothing here. Right. The catfish will be deep beneath the surface of the soil. You can see some bones there of the catfish there if you zoom in exactly there. That would have been the last remaining pool to dry up. And that's where the poor catfish that didn't manage to get below the surface of the mud and go into aestivation, that would have been that spot where they were all writhing and turning together. Is this what this lilac-breasted roller is after, though? I am very curious and quite confused as to what it's all about. Oh, it seems to be frozen there for now. Look at that incredible green. They really are one of the most beautiful birds. I think we sometimes take them as guides, not, I'm sure, as our viewers, you probably don't, but I think as guides we sometimes take them for granted because we see them so often that we just regularly drive past them. But this light shining on this lilac-breasted roller, can understand why James's friend was so keen for that lilac-breasted roller feather that I supposedly stole from him all those months ago. I didn't steal it from him. He falsely accused me of stealing his lilac-breasted roller feather that he was going to give to his friend who was going to give him some coffee. To cut a long story short. The bird of peace in most African cultures. So rather than having the dove, which is the symbol of peace throughout the world, in a lot of the southern African local cultures, the dove is a symbol of war and conflict, whereas the lilac-breasted roller is a symbol of peace. It's also the unofficial national bird of Botswana, because they decided that the western cattle egret was a little bit too boring. That's their official national bird. So there's much dispute about which of the birds their national bird should be. I can sort of see what they mean, though. I mean, western cattle egrets are great and everything, and if you had to choose a bird with this many, there it goes again. What are you after? It's not water. It can't be water. A lilac-breasted roller could just flutter off to the swimming pool if it wanted water. The lodge. We're right next to Arathusa Lodge. So far I haven't seen it catch one thing. I've waited here for ages. Watched it for ages. And so far it just seems to stand there and look sadly at the ground. What I might do is just take the opportunity, because I'm in a good spot, of trying to check my game drive comms with the other guides. So bear with me one moment. Usually this would be happening silently, but because we're in Jigger, you might hear some of the conversations. Good afternoon, stations. Jamie, Wild Earth. Can anybody copy me? Good afternoon. Are there any updates from Safari and Dal from this morning or this afternoon?
Negative. I didn't copy anything on Safari.
Copy that, thank you. And any updates on Tingana's whereabouts? I had my daughter Ingwe tracks in the Marikeni Donga, but I don't think they look so fresh.
He was in last night around Triple on the Northman side. Not sure what the last movement was saying. I think he was saying north.
Copy that, thank you. Okay. I have no idea what Tristan just said. He was trying to tell me something. Okay, back we go. Same pattern once again. By the way, the end result of that conversation was essentially nothing. There are no updates from Arathusa, so we have the entire place to ourselves to trundle about and see what we can see, which includes the mystery of this lilac-breasted roller. Did it eat? Oh, awesome. Oh, apparently Jean-Andre said it did eat while I was distracted by the Game Drive channel. I guess there must be quite a few insects that are attracted to the leftovers of the reeds and so on, the muddy weeds that were sitting on top of the Arathusa Dam. Now, Sterling, while we look at this incredibly beautiful bird, you're wondering what the purpose of this colouring is. Nobody knows for sure, but the standard answer to that is you've got two approaches for birds in terms of coloration. One is the very subtle approach, and the other is this brightly coloured, basically diametrically opposite approach of the lilac-breasted rollers. And the idea is it's based on reproductive tactics. So the brightest, prettiest bird is usually the victor, or the one that wins the mate. It's a difficult one, though, because in that case, why are the female lilac-breasted rollers as beautiful or as brightly coloured? As generally, it is the male that takes that title, and the females tend to be drab, like the sunbird we were talking about earlier. Why does both magpie shrikes have long tails? It's a question that doesn't have a complete answer, but for the most part the answer seems to be it is about reproductive success. The brightest, prettiest bird gets the mate, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I mean, this bird does seem absurdly pretty. It's one of the big reasons why birds see in colour, or at least that even if we didn't do a scientific study of their eyes, we would know that they can see in colour, because there'd be absolutely no purpose in being this beautiful if it wasn't used for some reason, and that would obviously be communication with other lilac-breasted rollers. Why is the lilac-breasted roller more brightly coloured than, say, the purple roller that comes from the same family? Now, in certain areas that makes total sense, the really, really brightly coloured birds with the different bird songs, because in sort of rainforest areas and so on, it's actually the only way that the other birds can see them, or one of the best ways of making sure that the other birds can see them, and that combined with their calls in dense vegetation. That explanation doesn't really make sense out here. And nobody really truly knows. All we know is that we truly appreciate it for what it is. I mean, this is an incredible view. The colours are absolutely astounding. That low, controlled glide. Whoop. Got something. What an amazing hunter. Not using speed or stealth, really. Another disadvantage of being that brightly coloured. They're not flying particularly fast, although Gendre is doing an amazing job of keeping up with it. Just seems to spot what it's after and off it goes. There you go. Gendre from Andrew Firestone. That's maybe been the finest wildlife photography of a bird ever captured. High praise from Andrew. Andrew, I think our cameramen are the best in the world, but I am very biased, so I'm glad that you appreciate their brilliance as well. I'm going to move off and search for wherever Tingana disappeared off to. Let's go and see what we can find. In the meantime, let's find out how Brent is doing.
Look at this, and they are so close to us at the moment, the elephants. We've just parked here and we're slowly being surrounded. It is just one of the more pleasant things to do in life. Get surrounded by a lovely big herd of elephants. Now, we've still got the other Nkuhumas to check up on, but I don't think they're going to be doing anything while it's this warm. So, oh, what are you doing? That's funny little maneuver that elephant that we're watching now just did. We just keep quiet and listen to the different sounds. See how many different elephants you can hear. How many can you have, Em? 4. I think it's good enough. I'll tell you, there's probably a few more than 4, but I'd say we can definitely hear 4 feeding comfortably. And isn't this just amazing? We've got one that's just literally disappeared into this thicket in front of us. I'm going to try and move it a little bit. I would like to know, do the elephants have to face any dangers from other animals? Only when they're very young But the biggest animal that creates danger for elephants is indeed another elephant. So it's the only thing that's really big enough, and the big bulls can actually kill each other when they fight for mating rights. It doesn't happen too often, but it is possible. And this is a little female next to us now, probably around 10 years old, maybe a little bit younger. Look at that. Isn't it amazing how dexterous their trunks are as they maneuver around feeding, picking only the most succulent. Now that big female with the strange shaped tusk is literally in the middle of that thicket feeding. And they keep tempting me or teasing me because they go near the water holes to go have a splish splash, and then they just carry on feeding past. Now Nina's wondering, at what age do elephants depart their herd? Male elephants. And the females stay with their herd. Now it all depends. They normally start getting pushed to the peripheries of the herd from as young as 15. By about 20 and they've been properly pushed out of the herd. They don't stay with their natal herds, and as in case with most animals, it's to stop inbreeding, and that happens. Hey, little girl. You can go join the other in the middle of the thicket. No? Yes? Oh, look at that. And you can see, as long as you drive carefully and respectfully around these animals and know how to read their body language, you can get amazingly close and spend some incredible time with definitely one of the most iconic animals in the world, not only Africa. Remember, if you have any questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or questions at WildEarthTV via email. You have a very calming effect. Well, on me, here comes the female with the funny tusk, and you can see it there. Oh, no. Blocked by the younger one. And you can see the size difference there. She's a particularly big female. There we can see that strangely shaped tusk. Hello, old lady. There we go, curving upwards. Now, she's got one very strangely shaped tusk, but Lynn in Michigan is wondering if I've ever seen an elephant with a double tusk on one side. I have, and I've seen one on Safari Live. I've even seen one with 3 tusks on one side. Now, the record recorded is 7. Now, I don't know where to put that. That elephant would have put all 7 tusks. But that is the record for the most tusks on out of one side. Now, of course, those sometimes are caused by trauma, maybe when the tusks are developing. Other times just a genetic mutation. Just trying to remember. I think I might. Let me see if I've still got the photo on here of that elephant with the, I think there's the one with a double tusk. Well, I'll see if I've got a photo of that double-tusked elephant. It was actually seen around Buffelshoek Dam. Jamie seems to have found some elephants of her own.
I remember that elephant that Brent is referring to. We've got one entirely different and with definitely just one tusk on each side of his face. A beautiful elephant bull that is spending his time hanging out around the Arathusa Lodge, which makes me wonder if he's not the gentleman that we've seen here in the past, walking right up to the guests' rooms and having a quick snack outside their bedroom windows. For now, though, he's contented himself with a massive acacia tree, giving us a beautiful example of how the trunk and mouth work in tandem, and also just how tough an elephant's mouth truly is. Those long white thorns as he crunches away. You and I, that would be a feat that would be almost impossible for us to achieve. It's also giving us a beautiful view of his beard. Look at all those bristles at the bottom. Trunk coming in to make sure he gets the part of the tree that he's actually interested in. The sensitive tip. Now bear in mind, he can't see that at all. He can't see that piece of twig. All of that is just an incredible demonstration of their coordination, and actually why they have such bristly chins as well. The bristles help the animal to direct their mouths and their trunks to where they need to go, in a part of their body that they absolutely can't see. So it's not like us toddlers learning to feed themselves, or sort of is, I suppose. I suppose they miss their mouths every now and again, but at least they can see the spoon right up until the point that it disappears below their nose. Elephants have a slightly larger blind spot underneath their trunks. Hello, gorgeous. Yes. Oh, he is beautiful. He's a nice big bull, comfortable and secure. And tucking into the acacia tree. Look at this, he's even given us a view of behind his ears. Or he did give us a view behind his ears. Or into his ear. That's the amazing thing about this camera. Look at that. When last did you manage to get such an amazing view inside an elephant's ear? You can see the scratches and the lines on his skin from where he's gone walking through dense vegetation, and it's scratched up against him. So that's what all those lines are, and it's not actually broken the skin in any way, it's just changed the colour slightly. You can see where he's managed to throw dust behind his ear, the lighter coloured patches, and the darker patches of skin where he's been having a mud bath. He missed a patch. And as I said, he's not a young bull, so he's a nice... I'm just going to turn this right off. There we go, so we don't have to deal with the beeps. That's usually, sorry everybody, that's usually silent and in our ears, but it's not working at the moment. You're thinking about it, aren't you? Yes. Yes. Yes, boy, keep walking. There was a brief over-the-shoulder look there. Renee, talking about the age of this elephant and how comfortable he is with us and in his own skin. Now, when they reach a certain age, bulls are very self-possessed, quite comfortable, and I think we should go and get a nice two-shot of the Arathusa sign with an elephant. Send it across to them. Renee, you wanted to know what age are they considered mature and able to mate? The females in their early to mid-teens, actually, will be the first time that they mate properly, which is one of the big reasons why elephant mating is not a protracted affair, because the males are much, much heavier than a young female of that age, and they can actually do serious damage to her. So a bull elephant like this is probably close to 4.5, maybe even 5 tons. A female when she first comes into estrus, would only be about 2.5, 3. That is a massive size difference. Where are you off to, my boy? You're going in the same direction I wanted to go in. You and I are going to meet up once again. I can't follow him without driving into the lodge itself. I think the ladies and gentlemen at the staff village might be about to get a surprise if he continues that motion. Oh, no, he's going to stop there. Renee, for the bulls, they're probably ready to breed in their mid to late teens. They are sexually mature. However, they very, very seldom get to utilize that option until they are well into around their late 20s, maybe 30s, unless they just happen to find themselves in a situation where there is a vacuum of large elephant bulls, which wouldn't occur here. So basically what I mean by that is as soon as a female comes into estrus, she makes a great fuss about it. She walks around doing what's known as the estrus walk. She's not very quiet about it. The whole rest of the herd get caught up in her excitement, and everybody's a little bit on edge. So all in all, it's not a quiet process. She also denies the bulls that approach her initially, so she doesn't let them mate with her. And all in all, what that serves to do is attract the attention of the biggest bulls in the area, which is why the young bulls hardly ever get a chance to mate with a female, because the big bulls come in, they hear the commotion, they smell the scent of a female in estrus, and they march in and kick all of the young bulls out. So it's a matter of patience for them, just waiting till they get to the point where they're big enough and strong enough to compete for that opportunity.